Welcome back to Red Devil United. Hope you're all good. And tonight we've got a familiar face alongside me and G Wolf, and that's Kieran. How are you doing, Kieran? Okay?
I'm very good, thank you, Jules. Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you both. Yeah, we've got some good news to talk about. So yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to
Yeah. Finally, some transfer news to speak of, and not. It's like London buses, as we were saying just before the
it.
stream. You wait months for one, and then all of a sudden you get two or three come along at the same time. So gives us plenty to talk about, and also a bit of optimism maybe in the chat tonight. But I just want to say a quick shout out to some of those guys already in the chat. Pundit Cady, as always. Hope you're well. He says Tielemans, a Belgian Red Devil. We've got Berber in the chat. Thanks for getting involved, Berber. Sorry. I hope you're well. We've got United Till I Die. We've got Bilal as well. Good to see Bilal. Neil Driscoll, the legend. Hope you're well, Neil. Hope this has brought a smile to your day. But just before we move on, if you haven't done already, please just check if you've liked the video, because it does help the channel a lot. So that would be greatly appreciated if you could do that. And also, if you're watching for the first time, make sure you hit the subscribe button.
By the way, hello. How are you? Hope you're well.
I was just about to say, G Wolf. I didn't see you over there in the dark. But how are you doing, G Wolf?
Oh, I'm very well, thanks.
I'm going to get your opinion first, G Wolf, because I feel like I've missed you out there, and I want to keep your morale high. In line with everyone in the chat, hopefully, on this news. But I want to get your opinion, G Wolf. Youri Tielemans.
Brilliant player, brilliant ball carrier. He was in his age. I think, wasn't he one of the best interceptors of his age in his age group? I think he was as well. So I think this has come out of left field. He's got a 35 million release clause. It's an ideal signing for us. He loves United. His dad loves United. Match made in heaven, innit?
You've done some deep digging there into his family history. That's impressive, G Wolf. You've gone above and beyond what me and Kieran have done. Kieran, your initial reactions to this player? Did you see it coming?
No, to be honest, it's quite a rare thing to kind of wake up and look at your phone and see a kind of here we go from Fabrizio Romano or kind of Ornstein, whatever. But I just woke up and I saw it on my phone. I was thinking, wow, that's a crazy deal, to be fair. And yeah, I know obviously the Edison deal collapsed and we were looking at other options. But I didn't really hear Tielemans mentioned. I don't know if you guys saw him mentioned really in terms of us being linked with him. So it was, pretty surprising, to be fair. But I'm happy with the deal. I think obviously it's a fairly cheap, respectable price. I think. I know his age at 29. Some people questioning how long he's got, and obviously he's had his injuries and things. How long he's got in terms of a top level player, but last season for Villa, he was pretty decent, and his stats, obviously, as we'll see, have kind of shown some good signs under Unai Emery, and also he's grown as a player as well. Looking at a few interviews and things he's done in the past, talking about how Emery's kind of challenged him to become more of an all-rounder as a player. So I think it'll be. I mean, I'm encouraged. I'm definitely encouraged by the signing. I don't think it'll be the last thing we do in terms of midfield, but I think with him and obviously Andre Santos as well already, we're starting to move in the right direction. So yeah, definitely encouraging.
Yeah. I think two signings for me in the midfield that complement each other, and we'll go on to talk about that later in the stream. We've got some statistics we can bring up and some comparisons, which shows just how well he does complement Andre Santos. But one thing I like to do is I like to look at what are the feelings, the opinions of the selling club. So Andre Santos, I was speaking to some Chelsea fans that I know well earlier in the week, and as well as looking online as well. And in the main, they're quite upset to be losing Andre Santos.
One of their best youngsters as well. They were saying, weren't they?
Exactly.
The Chelsea fans.
Chelsea have got two probably that stand out. Is Esteval and and Andre Santos. So the fact that we've been able to go in there and just pull him out of the club is it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And we've gone and got Tielemans as well from Villa.
What's actually been best is getting Santos. Well, first of all, selling off Garnacho, getting Santos with their money, and then giving them the numbers, and then giving Santos the number 17 shirt. Just to put salt in the wounds to Garnacho.
Yeah, Garnacho's as we were seeing in the media these last few days, it looks like he's going to be on the move from Chelsea as well. So things didn't really work out there.
Exactly. It's great.
But just big up Niche Fan as well. Good to see you, Niche Fan. We've got JR as well. So welcome to the stream, JR. You'll be seeing these two players that we've been speaking about very soon at Old Trafford. Yeah, so I've done a bit of research on an Aston Villa forum today. So this is a post from back in April 2026. Didn't want to look at anything over the World Cup because you're going to get biased comments from international level and so on. But I've looked specifically at the club, the sentiment from the club related comments on there, and there's a massive positivity towards Tielemans. A lot of people regard him as a big match player. He's an elite passer. You've then got a mixture, 18% there, which is he had a bit of a slow start at Aston Villa. So a lot of fans said in his first 2 months they weren't sure about him, but he has been very consistent since then. He's been one of their top players, if not their top player during the last 4 seasons. And let's not forget Aston Villa, they're not a mid-table team anymore. They've been competing up in the Champions League places, 3rd, 4th, 5th for the last 4 seasons, season in, season out. So he's been a big part of that, and they did miss him earlier in the season when he had a short spell on the sidelines. And then 5% were negative comments, which were mainly around his ability to get back in the defensive transition. So you need to have him paired with someone like Onana at Aston Villa, who covered for those spaces that he left in the defensive transition. But while we're on that topic, we have signed Andre Santos, so I think there's a feeling there that there's a good partnership potentially, and I think those two in combination are going to be really good, like yin and yang to our midfield. So, what are your thoughts, Kieran, on like the overall feelings you've seen from Aston Villa fans on Tielemans? I'm sure you've had your ear close to the ground as well.
Yeah. I mean, especially today on social media, you can see a lot of Villa fans not happy, which is actually a good sign for us, really. If they were kind of fairly happy and saying, good riddance, then I think we'd be a bit worried. But actually, they seem quite upset, especially with the fee as well. Seen a few comments about how they feel it's extremely cheap, really, to be letting go a player of that quality for the kind of 35, 36 million pound mark. So again, you have to say it's a good swoop from our recruitment team. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really encouraging that obviously a lot of the comments, the majority of the comments there you picked out are quite positive. I think when you've look at a few comments from Emery and other managers that he's worked under, they seem to be extremely positive, particularly about his creative ability. And obviously you mentioned as well the fact he's a big game player. He scored big goals, scored in their Europa League final win. I think he scored in the FA Cup final win, I believe, as well. So he's someone who Leicester's FA Cup final win, sorry. But he is someone for the big occasion, which I think again at Manchester United is a huge quality. We've seen the likes of Cunha come in, and I think a lot of people felt that he took to the big stage like a duck to water, and they knew that the sort of player he was at Wolves, he was going to adapt to the big occasion and not kind of be dim in the bright lights, as they say. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy that a lot of the comments are good. I have seen a few of the comments about tracking back and his defensive work. So that is something that obviously Carrick and the recruitment team you hope have kind of looked at as well, not just things that he's good at, but also things that maybe he's slightly weaker on. So we just have to put our faith that maybe this might not be the last kind of midfield signing, and obviously Andre Santos as well. I think, as you mentioned, would be a good kind of complements him well in that sense. So yeah, I think it's important that obviously we're building a deep squad, and I think Tielemans really does fit that mold. And it's great to see that there's a lot of nice comments from Villa fans previous to knowing that he was going, and then after they know he's going, a lot of kind of angry Villa fans. To be honest, is actually quite a. It's obviously not nice for them for a play, them losing a player, but actually it's quite nice for us that they wanted to keep him because it shows how important he is. So yeah.
It feels very much like a surprise for Villa fans as well. Like the fact that this news has really only come out today. It's got a similar kind of feel to it to the Andre Santos deal, where I literally spoke to my Chelsea friend after work, so maybe about 5 p.m. or something like that, and I messaged him saying, "So what's Andre Santos like?" And he's like, "Why? What's the news?" Like he didn't know anything about it, nothing. And he's an avid Chelsea fan. He's always on it with regard to their transfer dealings, and it feels very much the same here. I just wanted to read out some of the comments before I get G Wolf's take on this. But JR has got an interesting comment here, and I have a feeling, JR, you may have been at the same game as me, because there was a game. I think it was Europa League. I don't think it was the Champions League. I think it was Europa League back under the Mourinho era, and Tielemans came in and played with Anderlecht, and I remember thinking, "Wow, there's a player. He's a serious player." I haven't seen a teenager dictate a midfield like that ever. And he came to Old Trafford alongside his partner in crime, De Donker, who screened the back four. And Tielemans was immense. And if JR, if you're still in the chat, like get your views and comments in if you can remember that game as well. But I'm just going to go through a few of the comments because we've got a few different opinions, and we'll get all those on the screen and we'll discuss those as well. There was one from Curlers. He says, "I still think and hope that when they said on on Friday, United were after 3 other midfielders, it has to be true, because what we've got so far is utter." And then I'm not going to say the word on stream, but rhymes with rap. So Curlers is feeling underwhelmed. Sorry, so far. United Till I Die said that last season he missed a lot of games through injury, and there was one injury in particular where he missed a few games. Prior to that, in the 24-25 season, he missed 2 games. Season before, 5 games. Season before, 9 games, and the season before that, 7. So, yeah, there's some like injury niggles. Maybe the one last season was a bit longer than in previous seasons. So I think overall, my view would be that he's got a decent record. Not outstanding. It's not Bruno levels by any means, but I think there's enough encouragement there. That's my view anyway. We've got Andy Bez in the chat as well. Thanks for joining, Andy. He says, "Personally, I think it's good business, quality player. I really don't think you're over the hill at 29. We've got Cake Cadet as well. Hope you're good, Cake. He says, "I don't understand why people think it's a good deal." And I think there's going to be a range of views, but I think one thing that is telling is that reaction from the Aston Villa fans. That's always a sign, isn't it? You know, if someone came in and took a Garte, I don't think there'd be too many people complaining. But if someone came in and stole, like, I don't know, have we got any good players? Cunha, then we'll be pretty annoyed. But G Wolf, thoughts on like the Aston Villa fans' reaction?
Tell you the truth, are they angry at their manager, or are they angry at their owners? Because tell you the truth, the owner has to sign off on it. Obviously, who are they going to get? There must be someone that they're going to get, and maybe they need the money, and also they need the money as well. So, and sometimes you got to make tough choices, and selling one of your best players will help that with them, with their financial situation, and also whatever player they're going to go out and get. So,
and it's
the only thing is, it's benefited us. Like, you know, people were moaning that, oh, we don't sign anyone, we don't sign this player, we're not signing that player, we sign crap players. Well, no, we don't. We've signed a decent player for, like, you know, we've got a decent midfield. We're going to have a decent midfield, and having Santos and then like Santos signed yesterday and then Tielemans today, what we're going to get tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, literally, things are looking bright for United, and people need to be a little bit more positive with these deals, because not only are they Premier League proven, right? Yeah, Tielemans is on the older age, on the other age, nearly on the other age of 30, whereas Santos, he's still got time to develop. So for me, I think Tielemans is a brilliant deal. I think he will improve us immensely in that midfield area. Him, Mainu, and Santos. What a midfield! I think does need one. We do need one more, though. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, but also, like, we need we need a couple of, we need workhorses, and this is what we've done. Like, people are saying, "Oh, pay 85 million for, go and pay 85 million for Fernandez," but we got two players for 85 million.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, do you go out and pay? Because, by the way, Fernandez is he's still a gamble, because it's still potential. Like, he's done okay at West Ham. I wouldn't say he was immense. He was okay. I thought he showed real promise at Southampton, but essentially he was played in 2 relegation sides, and so you're paying for that level of potential, and whether he'll reach it or not, it's still a gamble. And we've gone and got Tielemans, who's proven in the Premier League. He's Aston Villa's best player. And Andre Santos, who's Chelsea's probably one of their 2 most promising young prospects as well. So you've got that blend of youth, and then you've got the experience as well. Obviously, Tielemans has got plenty of European experience with him. Old Mickey says, why are we signing a Cobby replacement? Where's the one we need? Where's Casemiro's replacement? Kieran, what do you think we're going to see? Like a change of formation, change of like player roles within the midfield? Because it seems like we're not looking for a kind of Casemiro style midfielder at the minute.
It's a good question, really. I think it was always going to be difficult to find a kind of like for like Casemiro replacement. I think what he offered in terms of his threat going forward, especially from set pieces, but then also defensively. There's a reason why he's kind of regarded as one of the best in that position in the world, especially in his prime. I think probably at one time you could say he was the best in the world in that position, maybe with a few other players. But it's very difficult to replace that sort of player. And so maybe there is going to be a little bit of a change from Carrick. Maybe he's realised it's going to be difficult to find that exact like for like replacement. So it's a good question. To be honest, I'm not too sure. I think under Carrick, we seem to play fairly well in terms of where Casemiro actually had a really good season when a lot of people thought he was kind of over the hill. So that I think surprised a lot of people, because I think a lot of people at the start of the season felt that he was going to be let go before the start of the season, to be honest. But actually he had a really good season, was really important for us. So it'll be interesting to see whether Carrick actually does go for another midfielder that he feels like is a more like-for-like replacement. But to be honest with you, it's going to be difficult to find someone out there that will do that same job. So it's a good question. I don't know if there'll be a change in how he wants to play in terms of midfield roles. I think with Tielemans, from what I'm kind of reading, he's becoming a bit more of an all-rounder than he was. He was previously kind of a forward progressor of the ball, someone who always liked to play the ball in between the lines. I think he's kind of close with Fernandez in terms of how many forward passes he plays or attempts in a game. So the fact that obviously it seems like he's trying to become a bit more of an all-rounder, I suppose maybe he's kind of a little bit more similar to Casemiro, but I think the defensive capability is what's going to be difficult to replace. So I feel like maybe that if the next midfield target that comes in may be a bit more a bit more kind of skewed on the defensive side. But Andre Santos, of course, is someone who has previously done a lot of good defensive work when he's been at Chelsea and stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder what you guys in the chat think, to be honest. But yeah, I think he's obviously really difficult to replace Casemiro. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do bring in someone else as a kind of in the central roles that is more of a defensive-minded midfielder rather than a kind of progressive midfielder because of this Tielemans news.
Kate's got a question. So he says, Jules, have we not wasted 95 million on Mount and Tielemans when we could have just signed Tielemans for free in 2023 and sacked off Mount? Mason Mount has been a complete waste of money, and that's a waste of money, but only because it hasn't worked out. So, you know, if we'd bought him, he'd had 3 or 4 excellent seasons. Right now, you'd be looking at 60 million for Mount and saying, well, it worked out. It was good value for money because he's benefited the team. But we've seen nothing from Mason Mount. Even a low transfer fee would have been a waste of money because we just haven't seen him on the pitch. With Tielemans, sorry, go on, Wolf.
I was going to say, yeah, right, that with Mount, right, for 2 years at Chelsea, he was he was their best player. Hence the reason why we went to go and got him. Right, he comes to United, and as you said, yeah, he hasn't worked out. But at Chelsea, he was absolutely immense for them. Hence the reason why we went to go and get him instead of going for Tielemans, who was free. Maybe we could have done both at that time, but we weren't. Don't forget, Glazers. They weren't ambitious enough, were they? With the clowns in charge.
No, there was a lot of poor decision making over the last 15 years. I think missing out on Tielemans earlier on in his career was a big miss as well. I think when you think back to Sir Alex Ferguson days, if a player rocked up at Old Trafford and put in a performance like he did,
yeah,
you'd be onto his agent the same night, which we did lots of times under Sir Alex. And we missed the chance. He went to Monaco. He went from Monaco to Leicester. He went from Leicester to Aston Villa, and all of those junctures we didn't go in and get the deal done. So yeah, I agree. It is something we should have done earlier, but it doesn't mean that we've wasted 35 million now, I would say. So just to go over some of the strengths and weaknesses, again, this is just from the comments from the Aston Villa fans. I've tried to summarise them, really. Rarely turns over the ball under possession, so we should be more secure in possession, which is one of the problems we had with the Casemiro midfield. We gave the ball away far too much. Ugarte as well, of course, who in possession was a bit of a disaster. But dictates the tempo. I feel like we've lacked someone like that since Michael Carrick. I don't think there's going to be many arguments with that. Line-breaking passes, even against a low block. We do struggle with a low block sometimes. Often we get criticised that we can only play in a counter-attacking style. I think this is going to be the first step towards maybe going more towards like a possession game and playing higher up the field. So I think that's a good piece in that jigsaw. Excellent spatial awareness. So in other words, when he gets the ball, he's got time on the ball because he knows exactly where to be to pick up the ball in space, which all good players do. Outstanding long distance shooting. So we did talk about we need to replace the goals that Casemiro brings. Obviously, he's not that huge presence in the box from aerial duels. I mean, he doesn't score many goals with his head, but long shooting is a real asset of his game. So we're going to get goals from that and set pieces. He scores big, important goals. He has done for Aston Villa in Europe, as well as in domestic competitions as well. The Villa fans say he turns up in every big game or most big games, which is a credit as well. You know, some people still say the likes of Bruno Fernandes don't turn up in the biggest games. The same criticism was labelled at Ronaldo as well when he was at United. So someone that turns up in the big games is just as big an asset, really. And I'm just going to remove Kate's comments because I can't see the bottom one. But lacks recovery speed in defensive transitions, which is a weakness. So I've left that at the bottom of strengths, but it should be in weaknesses. Is there any things you can read into these comments, G Wolf? What are your initial thoughts? Is it addressing areas that we're really lacking in? Is the weakness a bit of a concerning one for you, or what's your thought?
No, tell you the truth, this signing is, I feel, is a positive signing. Literally, I don't look. Everyone's going to have a bad game. Everyone is saying, "Oh, what this player should do, what that player should do," but at the end of the day, as long as we win, that's all that matters. So me personally, I don't care about the weaknesses. I don't care, like, even don't care. So I don't even care about the positives. I just want to see on the pitch that he does well. That's all I want to see. You know what I mean? Like, literally, that's all people want to see is that, is he a good footballer? Is he going to help? Is he going to improve our midfield? Yes. And is he going to have bad games? Yes. Just like every single player at Man United, every team has a bad day at the office. But don't blunder every single and nitpick at every single thing that a player does, because at the end of the day, it's still a good signing. I just don't get it. I really don't. I don't know about you guys.
For me, I just go back to the reaction of the Villa fans. Like you see it all over social media. Like they are really quite annoyed that they've lost Tielemans. And having watched him several times, both in person and on the TV, he's impressed me every time I've seen him. He's a quality player. He really is. And I think he's probably a bit underrated in the Premier League. I think he's one of the top midfielders in the Premier League. And really, we should have signed him earlier. I do agree with one or two of the comments on that. I think we should have signed him earlier, but it's not a reason not to sign him now. I think, especially as we're trying to rebuild a midfield, and really we need 4 quality midfielders in to fill that midfield gap. You're not going to sign £400 million midfielders. You're just not. So I think you've got to be a bit cost savvy on a deal like this. It was an opportunity really to go and get a top player and at a decent price, and we've managed to get two players in for the sake of the same price as Fernandes, who is a gamble in my view. But big up to Rich, the main man. Hope you're well, Rich. I just want to read out Rich's comment that he's put in there, just in case you don't see it in the chat. Rich is asking if there's any interest in a call-in show soon to discuss the new signings. So obviously with the World Cup coverage, it's been a bit limited time for Rich to get the call-in shows on air, but they're very popular. My personal favourite shows, I've got to say. I love listening to all the people that are in the comments and then come onto the chat. It's really good to hear the opinions on the video. I'm just going to bring up a couple of comments and then get your take, Kieran. I'm going to select carefully. I'll select carefully for you.
Wow. People saying that I'm brainwashed because of Ineos. I'm not brainwashed over Ineos. I'm not Ineos FC.
I don't. Well, none of us support Ineos. We support the club.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who the owners are. Kieran, what are your thoughts on? So, Cake's saying it's not a cheap deal if you take into consideration that he was free 3 years ago. Are you bothered about when you sign a player after the fact? So we could have signed him 3 years ago for a free. Does it bother you now that we're paying a transfer fee for the player?
I think if it was like a massive transfer fee, if we were talking kind of 80, 90 plus, then I think it would bother me a little bit, being like we had him on a plate for free 3 years ago, sort of thing. But I think, as much as obviously I take into account the fact he's 29, and whilst he's not over the hill. I think considering his season for Villa, I think that, you know, obviously in this day and age, it feels like, you know, a lot of people want to kind of bring in the, you know, the 25 and below sort of players, the players that you feel like are going to be there for 10 years. But to be fair, a £35 million player, as they go, I think in terms of the value of the current market, which is ridiculously inflated, I think a player of Tielemans' quality for 35 million, I think I don't mind at all that we've paid a fee. As I said, I think if it was kind of, you know, maybe a kind of Pogba situation like back in the day where we had him in our academy and then he ended up goes out and then we have to pay a world record fee or kind of at least a Man United record fee. I think it might have been a record fee at the time, but it was a massive fee, like £90 million. Then you are a bit like, it might be worth it in the end, but it does sting a little bit to have someone there for free that you've just spent that money on. But actually, 35 million, it's not really too much. And ultimately, in this market, I actually think it's quite good value for money, in my opinion. But you know, it's all about opinions, isn't it?
I agree with the Pogba one.
People are saying that we should have signed him at 26, right? On the free. Look who we had in charge. One Ineos. Ineos weren't in charge back then. It was the clowns that was in charge. And also, we still had Myrtle and the other, and Arnold. The Chuckle Brothers, I used to call them. We had them in charge, hiring and firing players. So, say the truth, blame it on them, not on the ones that we got now.
Rich is saying, who's the best option for a third midfield signing? What do you think, guys?
Good question.
Manu Kone at the moment.
I've heard his name a lot, actually.
I do like him. He was he's been brilliant for France since he's come in. He came in for Chouameni. Since he's come in, he's done really well.
Yeah. You know, sure, that's not a bad shout, actually. That's a good pull. Good name. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure. You mentioned Tchouameni there. I was daring to dream early in the transfer window, thinking maybe.
Yeah, so was I, dude. So was I, and then all of a sudden it got
used for a contract again. Real Madrid players using United for a contract.
Yeah,
we've been there before. But yeah, no, but I agree. Manu Kone's been looking good for France. So yeah, not a bad shout. Yeah, what about you, Jules? What about you? Who'd you go with?
It's difficult to say. I think we do need. I think we do need someone who's not a young player in now. So we've obviously got Mainu, who's obviously very young. We've got Andre Santos, who's again very young, but also he hasn't played a huge amount of Premier League football. Tielemans is obviously the other end of the spectrum. He's got masses of European football, masses of Premier League football. So I think someone maybe in that middle category, maybe mid-20s, 25, 26 would be a kind of ideal age. In terms of who you bring in, it probably depends on what type of football Michael Carrick's looking to play. I don't know. I quite liked the thought of Sander Berge coming in.
Yeah, good shout.
I'm not sure if that's a realistic one. I think he may be too expensive given his age, because I think he's probably a bit older than 26. He's probably more like 28 now, is he, Sander Berge? So yeah, I'm not sure. I know there's a few names floating about, but I think one of the things I'm convinced with now is the journalists know nothing, because there's two names that we've been speaking about that they literally nobody mentioned, until they happened. So I think United have done a good job of keeping players under wraps. I'm not sure if maybe they've been leaking some information out to the press to give a bit of a smokescreen, if you like, and meanwhile we can get some of the deals done that we're interested in. But yeah, one thing's for sure, they don't know what they're talking about, the journalists at the minute.
Yeah, true.
I just wanted to bring up. So this is something from is it Football MB? I can't remember what the website's called. But this is just a comparison of last season. So the blue polygon is Bruno Guimaraes of Newcastle. The red polygon is Tielemans. So they're kind of similar players. A lot of people kind of hold Bruno Guimaraes up there as one of the best in that position in the country. But you can see there, so forward pass percentage is pretty similar between the two. Number of forward passes is similar. Bruno excels in carrying, whereas Tielemans not so much. But then in terms of possession one, Tielemans has got excellent stats for possession one, and his duel percentage is actually extremely high. So he far outweighs Bruno Guimaraes there. Progressive passes are also quite similar as well. So not a lot between the players, but also defensively, it looks like Tielemans does have the edge. But any observations, any thoughts? It's just really just a benchmark, just a talking point.
I think that the dual percentage is quite interesting. How much bigger it is, into the gap between Guimaraes and Tielemans, because you would associate really, I think, Guimaraes with kind of, almost like a very hard tackling type midfielder. Or at least he puts in a lot of tackles. I'm not sure how good he is at them, but he is someone he's a bit of a scrapper in the midfield. So it's kind of interesting that there is that massive disparity between him and Tielemans in that one, in that sense. But yeah, I mean, I think it's very clear from those stats, what Tielemans his strengths are. I think obviously, with Guimaraes, I think with the progressive carries, you'd probably say that he's more mobile maybe than Tielemans. And obviously, going back to some of the points you got from Aston Villa fans, that was one of the things that maybe kind of slightly worried them about Tielemans, was that kind of tracking back on defense, or is just general kind of mobility. Is like, he's intelligent, he can find the space, but it feels like his kind of his physicality in terms of his running and getting around the pitch maybe isn't his top strength. But again, that's why we've spoken previously about getting in players in and around him, like a Santos, and potentially other players we've mentioned that could be coming in to supplement this. So I think it is all about playing to the strengths. I think Michael Carrick will like him because I think technically Tielemans is a very good footballer. When he's come up against us, I think he's always someone that we highlight in the opposition, going, he's someone that we need to make sure can't start dictating the play. And I think he'll really benefit Bruno Fernandes as well. I think obviously Fernandes is playing in a bit more of a forward role. So with Tielemans being there, hopefully that means that his ability on the ball to make progressive passes and passes in between the lines means that Fernandes isn't carrying the load in terms of chance creation. Because last season, obviously, he's a magician at doing it, but he was creating a lot of the chances and making a lot of the forward passes. And if he has an off game, then we didn't really have many other options who were really creating those opportunities when he wasn't creating them. So to have someone like Tielemans there who has the ability to play kind of similar passes in between the lines and keep the ball moving forward, I think is really important. So yeah, I think those stats kind of show what we know about him. But yeah, a few interesting kind of gaps between him and Guimaraes, to be fair.
Big up Mr. B. He says, big up lads, good signing, although he has had a poor World Cup with Belgium. And what happens when he has a run of games where he does nothing? Because that did happen at Villa. But for the money, decent signing. One of the observations I made on that forum post I was reading earlier was that at international level, there were some Belgian fans on there, and they said at international level he hasn't really hit the heights that he has at club level. I haven't really seen much of Belgium in this World Cup, but by all accounts, he hasn't had his greatest tournament at that World Cup either. But G Wolf, any thoughts on the on what the stats are telling us there on the screen, and also does that give us any clues what we need alongside him?
Against Bruno, Tielemans is much better against Bruno Guimaraes. I want to see the result if it was Tonali. Like I wouldn't mind seeing that stats and see who's the better player. I think that will be out of the both of them, which one's the better player. And I bet you it will still be Tielemans.
Yeah, I think Tonali, I don't have his stats in front of me, but he obviously is excellent at carrying the ball.
Yeah.
Dual percentage will be very high. He's probably not got the passing range of the two on the screen. But physically, he's dominant, isn't he, Tonali?
Yes.
But for 100 million, was it 100 million Spurs paid? 105?
Yeah, 100 million Spurs are paid, and we go to Tielemans and pay 35. So, tell you the truth, tell you the truth, it's a small dub. It's not. I'm not going to say that it's a brilliant. It's not a world signing because it ain't. The signings that we've got at the moment, they're workhorses. And the way that I see it, they do improve because we need squad depth. So they bring the squad depth with them. They may get a couple of games. They may play every game. But it's progressing very well. I think that the way that we're trying to build, what we're trying to build, small steps before we get to that big one.
I've just got another lot of stats here. So this is Tielemans in the red alongside Andres Santos, obviously our other midfield signing this summer. So you can see there's quite a clear distinction between the two. So earlier on, I was speaking about Tielemans maybe needing some legs with him, someone to kind of defend in transition, where Tielemans doesn't quite have that pace to recover. You've got obviously Andres Santos there, his dual percentage is enormous. It's like, I think it's actually the best in the league, in the Premier League. I think it's like, is it 95%? I think I read. I can't see the text on the screen there, but and possession one. So I think we're going to be a lot more solid in midfield. This is what I'm taking from this. Like, we're going to be a lot harder to play through, but also we're going to be a lot better at keeping the ball. So that's keeping the ball and being able to win it back quickly means we are going to be pressing high up the field. I'm confident we're going to see a completely different tactical outlook next season. I think we're just going to be playing another 10, 15 yards further up the field. But forward passes there as well from Santos, like huge, absolutely huge stats there. Anything you want to say on these stats, Kieran? Have you seen much of Andre Santos in the Chelsea shirt?
Well, to be honest with you, I think because Chelsea makes so many new signings, he almost kind of got lost a bit in all the kind of, like, I feel like last couple of seasons, really, watching Chelsea, it feels like every so often you get a new debutant coming off the bench and you don't really fully know where they've come from. But with their transfer strategy, they signed so many players. But I think Santos, he played against us. I think it was Old Trafford. And I think one thing about him is he seems to be very good in technically in terms of kind of retaining the ball, keeping possession, and he's all over the pitch really, as your stats there kind of show really. Like the fact his dual percentage is actually right up there with his forward pass percentage. Just kind of shows you the sort of midfielder that he is. He's still young as well, so he's someone who, fingers crossed for us, has a lot of potential. But again, as you mentioned, Chelsea fans, when they found out the news, they weren't exactly buzzing with joy, to be honest. which again is a good thing for us. But yeah, I can't say I've seen too much of his game. But I do remember him playing against us at Old Trafford for a bit, and he looked pretty decent. I think we ended up winning the game, but yeah, I think technically pretty decent on the ball. And I think one thing with him is it seems like under pressure, he's not afraid to kind of be a bit more be brave and kind of try and play out. And I think again with Carrick, and I think it's a good observation they make in terms of how we might look to play next season in terms of being more on the front foot. I think you need those players that are technically very good in possession and can keep the ball for you to keep the opposition under pressure. So yeah, I think I'm excited by what we're going to see from him. And I think obviously with the other competitions, that's a really big thing. Is that last season with our poor form in the FA Cup and the League Cup going out so early, we ended up in a situation where we were playing 40 games in a season. I think the lowest amount of games for some time. So now we've got the Champions League back on the menu. We need to have a real stacked squad and a deep squad. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with this signing. And I'm glad that we didn't kind of rest on our laurels as well. I'm glad that we kind of looked to move in for other players afterwards. But yeah, the stats kind of show, as you'd expect with stats, really, kind of what sort of all rounder he is. And as well, why Chelsea fans are a bit frustrated that they're letting him go, which is a good thing for us.
Yeah, guys, just in the chat, just keep it civil, guys. We're all here. We're all United fans. I think we all want the same thing. We all want United to do well. We're going to have differences of opinion, of course, but that's why we're here. We're here to discuss in a civil way. So just keep it clean, guys. G Wolf, any other comments on the combination between Tielemans and Andres Santos? Do you think they'll play a lot together? Do you see it more being Mainu or a third midfielder that comes in?
I don't know, but by the stats, they do complement each other, and like the way that they overlap as well. I think they will complement each other if they get on, if they play at the same time. But we just have to wait and see. But I'm seeing in the chat loads of well, especially Cake. He's saying that we should have bought them 3 years ago. But all I'm thinking to myself is, we didn't have these own. We didn't have Ineos. We didn't have the football brains. We had literally people that just wanted to go out and spend 60 million on Mason Mount and all of that lot. But with football brains, they're trying to. What they're trying to do, what Ineos are trying to do now, is trying to get us on a basis where we can still compete for a top 4 finish and eventually for the championship, because of after 15 years of pure guff. And that's a lot of stuff that they have got to do. Don't see how you can say that they haven't got football brains. Look at the young people that we've signed over the people that we have signed in the last 2 years. Been pretty decent signings.
We've got people like Christopher Vell. He's got a proven track record of recruitment. Okay, Jason Wilcox, you could argue maybe less so, but there are at least football people in those positions now. Whereas before, we literally had bankers, we had financiers, we had lawyers. These weren't football people making football decisions. And I think so far the decisions that the football people have made, you look back at the 4 signings we made last summer, in addition to the Dorgu signing, you've got to say there's 5 fairly decent signings there. You can't look at any of those signings and say that hasn't worked, or that was a bad one, or that was a waste of money. I think by and large they've been excellent deals all round. So I think things are on the up. There's been a lot of mistakes in the past. But as you say, G Wolf, I don't think you can't really judge any of the actions of this summer based on what's gone on prior to this tenureship. I don't think.
Exactly. And like, people are, and they're saying, how have we not improved? Well, say the truth, we're in Champions League football this season, so hopefully we can get there next season as well. And then, like, it takes small steps. You got to build foundations. We built a foundation. Now we got to go up step by step.
Belieber's another one. Like, if given the two that we've now signed, Tielemans and Andre Santos, do you think the signing of Belieber would complement these players in our midfield? Obviously, we've been linked to him for a long time now.
Who's
easily
that?
12 months. Belieber from Brighton.
I used to be a Belieber. I wanted Belieber, but not anymore. I think that ship has sailed. I think I prefer Kone, Manu Kone from the French player that has been doing really well. I don't know what club he's played at, but I've only seen him at the World Cup. And also, if we could get Boadi as well, that would be a great signing.
I think he plays for Roma, doesn't he? Kone, but
that was it. Yeah, he's Roma.
I haven't seen his stats for myself, but I understand he's got a very poor injury record, which is a bit of a concern if that is the case. And he's what, 26, 27? He hasn't really made a mark in club football, so I don't know. I've been impressed from what I've seen of him in French games this tournament. I think he's looked good, but I don't have any more than that, I'm afraid, on that player.
Why do people want fast players all the time? They're saying, we need pace, we need this, we need that. I don't get it. Sometimes you're slowing down the play and making quick decisions is best. Don't need to be fast. Just make quick decisions. If you see a player running in, cross it. Yeah, it might not work out, but that 1% of the time, and it works out.
I think a brain and when you've got a yard of pace in your head, like for me, that's more important. Look back to Theo Walcott. You've probably never seen a quicker player than him. You've got Adama Traore. You've got Marcus Rashford. Pace alone isn't going to get you to the top. Whereas you look at someone like Del Piero, like Paul Scholes, like Bergkamp, Cantona.
Exactly.
They weren't fast players, but they've got that nous in their head. They've got the football intelligence, and to an extent, people like Lisandro Martinez as well. Like he's not blessed with pace. He's not blessed with height, but he's able to position himself in a way where it makes up and covers for his weaknesses. So I don't think pace is like, obviously, if you're building the perfect player, you're on FIFA, you're going to whack all his stats up to 99, aren't you? You're going to give him like 99 pace, 99 heading, exactly. Everything. But that player doesn't exist. So there's going to be compromises that you have to make. It's just about getting a good blend across the squad for me. You don't want a squad where you've got no pace throughout the team. Otherwise, you're gonna struggle. You don't want equally a squad where you've got no height in the team because you're going to struggle at set pieces. So you've just got to get that blend, I think. But overall, with the two signings for 85 million, are you pleased with that? There was obviously a rumor that we'd earmarked 150 million for a midfield rebuild. Are we on track for that? What are we thinking about the 85 spent and what we've potentially got left?
I think we got enough to go and get a left back, go and get Lewis Hall. Would love to see him a United shirt. And a striker / left winger as well. is what we need. Like, you know, if anybody, if people are talking about pace, that is where we need it. Is either left wing and a left wing and a left back, and hopefully we can get Lewis Hall. And I am. Do you know who I'm really like? Who I really like? Who I really liked, and that's Noosa.
Yeah, the guy that came on for he was in the last match, wasn't it, in the World Cup?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's really impressed me, and also that Mora as well. That youngster. They're always hungry.
Yeah, I haven't. Does Noosa play in the MLS, or is that someone else?
I don't know.
Yeah, he certainly looked a live wire. I did feel that we defended against him well, though.
We did.
Yeah.
But when he came on, he was causing us problems because he came on as a second half sub.
Mm.
And when
Plays
he came
for.
on,
Oh, sorry,
even
no. I was just going to say plays for Leipzig.
Ah,
RB
Leipzig. Okay. Oh, so maybe then Vivel's got links with him. He used to work at the Red Bull Group, didn't he? Big up Rob Taff. Hope you're well. I just want to say a shout out to everyone that's joined in the last probably 20 minutes or so as well. So I don't want to be rude. I'll give you a quick shout out. Rob Taff, we've got Vril in the chat. We've got, I've already mentioned Mr. B, but we've got Solly as well. Hope you're well, Solly. And there were a few others, but I think you've disappeared at the top of my screen now. So apologies to you guys, but hope you're enjoying the stream so far. But yeah, Kieran, what are you thinking about the midfield rebuild?
Yeah, I think so far. I mean, to be fair, I think probably a week ago, none of us really thought that these two players would be the options that we'd go for. So it's kind of played out in a very interesting way so far. But it just shows how quickly things can change, and obviously dominoes fall elsewhere in terms of players like Tonali going to Spurs and Mateus Hernandez going to Spurs as well. So a lot can change, you know. So I'm sure there'll be targets we're looking at right now that in a week's time will be old news, and we'll be pursuing other people. So, I mean, I think in terms of these two, what I like is the fact that we're continually going into the Premier League like we did last season, and I think for what we saw last season with Mbumo and Cunha, probably more so Cunha. I think Mbumo towards the back end of the season maybe faded away a little bit. So hopefully he has a kind of better season this season in total, because I thought at the start of the season Mbumo was class, but towards the end he kind of faded a little bit. But that's by the by. I think these two, you know, I'm pretty happy with the 85 million. I think obviously, you know, again, it'll be interesting what we're saying in maybe 5-6 months' time. But right now, I think I am encouraged by it. I think that I think what a lot of people are saying, I'll probably echo the sentiment that I think if this was the kind of end of the midfield rebuild for this summer, I think maybe it sounds a bit kind of I suppose entitled, or maybe a bit like, you know, you're kind of greedy, but it would feel, I suppose, slightly anticlimactic, because you feel like we would be still lacking a little bit. But at the same time, I think these two signings, if we could accompany them with another signing, as we were mentioning, I think, you know, that would be a pretty decent summer in terms of bolstering our midfield options. So yeah, I think overall I'd agree. I think it is good value. I think it is good value so far. But again, you never know. You never know. In 6 months' time, we might be sitting here going, "Can we bring in someone in January?" You know, so that's the nature of football. But yeah, right now I'm encouraged by it.
Yeah, let's hope we don't go into January needing more signings, because we had enough of that last January. I think we got away with it to an extent when we changed the manager. But yeah, not great planning. Cake says he would like more pace in the midfield. Tielemans and Mainu is a slow midfield pairing. We need help tracking back. I think this is one of the reasons I was up for signing Edison, because he has that ability where he's almost got like 3 lungs. He can get up and down the field. He's not necessarily got elite pace, but he can run at top speed for a long time, like up and down the pitch, and he would make up the ground. So for me, someone like that, in answer to a question about half an hour ago about a third midfielder, someone like Edison. So maybe not Edison himself, because that deal looks like it could be off, but that would be a really good foil for the 2 players on the screen and Mainu. Rob Taff says he's glad that we're not rigidly sticking to the 26 and under rule. It did feel like it was a bit of a rigid rule at one point, didn't it? Where it was like, oh, we must sign someone who's under 23 or whatever the age rule was. And it's like we were just discounting 50% of the market because we weren't willing to break that age criteria. But yeah, for me, you've got guidelines, and then you've got exceptions to guidelines. And for me, Tielemans is an exception to the guideline. So I'm pleased that we're focusing on younger players, but as Rob says, glad that we're not rigidly sticking to it. And Rich says, defending quick transitions, the Premier League is fast. So he's also saying he thinks we need someone that can defend those defensive transitions, which is, I think, a wise move, to be honest. Yeah, any final comments on the midfield? We've got one more story to go over. It'll be quite a quick one, but any final comments on the midfield? Any final thoughts on like a
I just
third
hope that
midfielder?
people will support them. Like, they're coming to United, so I'm going to support them. Whether I think it's whether I think they're 2 great players or not, at the end of the day, still support them, still encourage them to do well. That's all we got to do as United fans, is support our players and get our players over the line to do well.
I love this comment from Rob Taff. Sorry to change topic. He says, I remember when you could adjust players' stats on games. He turned Robbie Savage into a beast.
Yeah.
It's like when you're a kid and you put all the players' heights at like 2 meters 30 or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I just playing pro clubs and stuff, just making the most ridiculous player. Just almost just not actually scientifically possible in real life. But yeah, those are the days when FIFA was good. No, it's not.
Cake says, I like Noosa, but we're overloaded in the left wing position. Yeah, just actually, we'll cover that question quickly before we move on. Do you guys think we're going to sign a left winger? Obviously, there's been talk of Marcus Rashford returning.
Yeah, but do we really want him back, though? That's the thing. Like, I don't really think that Ineos really wants him to come back. Or, to tell you the truth, I don't even want him to come back. I'll tell you what, I'm going to get Ulsfords if he comes back into the team. Literally, they're going to be ulcers in my belly, but they're going to not be called ulcers. They're going to be Ulsfords in my belly. Because all I would want to do is just complain about him.
Mr. B, that's an interesting comment from Mr. B. He said he wouldn't be surprised if we get Noosa. Brentford nearly got him, but for a medical issue that stopped it happening. I didn't know that. JR says Noosa is the Norwegian Bellion, David Bellion. I think he's already done more than David Bellion ever did. I remember when we started the season with David Bellion up front for the first few games. I don't remember why. I'm presuming it was because Lewis Saha was injured. But yeah, that was a bit of a low point
Mm.
Ollie Biscuit Barrel says, be wary of signing anyone on the back of a couple of World Cup games. It's not indicative of normal performances. Remember James Rodriguez. Yeah, that guy managed to carve out quite a career from that World Cup, didn't he? Well, quite a list of moves anyway, transfer fees and moves, but club level he didn't really hit those heights. Have you got issues with signing players from World Cups based on purely from their World Cup performance? Any
Nope.
concerns?
Nope.
I think I would. I think if it was purely based off just the World Cup, then I would be. I would probably be slightly concerned, but I think I have trust in our recruitment team in terms of actually not just kind of like they're not just sitting there kind of on a whatever Tuesday night watching a Norway game going, oh, this Noose is good, let's get him in. It's like they would have done a lot more kind of extensive scouting than that. So as long as that's not the case, because I do agree with some of the comments that we have seen players maybe kind of announce themselves at these tournaments and then actually in terms of the fee they go for and versus the actual impact they have is night and day. So I think sometimes being on the world stage and kind of producing great moments, but ultimately it sometimes clouds over the overall performance of that player. So I think I would be a little bit concerned in terms of like just signing based off solely World Cup form, but you have to hope that scouts aren't just sitting there watching the World Cup going, oh, he's decent, let's bring him in. But yeah, hopefully we're not doing that, but we'll see. We'll see. There's always one kind of, especially like younger players that announce themselves at these tournaments and get a big move. So it'll be interesting to see who that player is.
Remember that Senegal team in 2002? Didn't they knocked out France, and then all of a sudden half the Senegal team was over in Europe, in the Premier League. You had like El Hadji Diouf, you had Diop, I think Song. There was a few players from that team.
A lot of them. Yeah.
Does anybody remember Alex Ferguson signing Beppe only because he saw a YouTube clip and he said, "Yeah, let's go and sign him."
There was a rumor that he was in the homeless World Cup, wasn't there? I don't know if that's actually true. Beppe.
But the only thing is, Alex Ferguson saw a YouTube clip and he went, "Yep, I want to sign that player." And then look how he turned out. So, to tell the truth, even the top managers makes mistakes.
Yeah, I think he will regret that one. It's probably up there with Ali Dyer from Graham Souness. JR, I couldn't agree more with this comment. He says, in the midfield position and technique over pace and power. The greatest midfielders were never sprinters, bar Keane. Yeah, I mean, I've played quite a bit in central midfield, and I think it's the hardest position on the pitch to play, in my opinion, because you've got to have a 360 view of the pitch. Like, it's no good being just fast, just pace, just power. You look at people like Joe Linton, like he's got every physical attribute you could imagine. Fantastic in transition. He's a real problem to play against, but put him against a low block. What can he do? He doesn't have the intricacies. He doesn't have the vision, the intelligence to break down a low block. So those players are very good in certain scenarios, but I think you've got to have more to your game than that. And I think, as JR says, like most of the world's top midfielders, if you were to list, let's list the top 5 midfielders in the last few years. You've probably got Toni Kroos, you've probably got Xavi, you've probably got Modric, you've probably got Rodri, etc. None of them are quick. None of them. It's all about what's up here, and I think sometimes at the minute there is a bit of a fashion with the Premier League where it's in that fast-paced, strong transition-based football. But I think, as we've seen in Europe, I don't think it's necessarily the best way to go. We've been knocked out of Europe, most of our teams, quite early, albeit, yes, Arsenal did get to the final of the Champions League. But by and large, our performances in Europe in the last year or two have been quite poor. I'm just going to move on to the final discussion for tonight, as well as any of your comments in the chat, which I'll try and get to. I'm quite far behind, so I will try and catch up as the guys are talking. But this is a story that's come from a couple of sources. One is just a small account, so I'm not going to discuss that one. But Athletic Universe, which is an Atletico Madrid news aggregator account, is claiming that Lisandro Martinez has been offered to Atletico Madrid. What I'm going to say is take it with a pinch of salt, because we've seen with United's transfer business this summer, nobody knows what's going on. It's only announced when it's announced from the club or from people very close to the club. I personally, I'm not going to read too much into this. I think there's maybe some agent talk here, someone trying to manufacture a new contract. I think Lisandro Martinez is due a new contract in 2 years. That's my take on it. But any initial thoughts on this, G Wolf, Lisandro Martinez?
Me personally, I don't think it's United are offering them to Atletico Madrid. What I think it's the other way around. Atletico Madrid are interested in buying Martinez, and if it's a really good deal, if it's really good money, then I think we'll sell. If it ain't, then we'll walk away. I that's the way that I see it. But other than that, as you said, it could be just BS journalism. It really could be.
It's not unusual for stories like this to come out on international duty, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Kieran, any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think there's too much to this really. I don't think to read too much into it. I think it'll be an interesting one, to float up, to float to the United fan base, because I think with Martinez, he's someone who, when he's on form, I think there's no doubt he's one of the best defenders in the league. I think he's put in some performances over his time at United, where in big games as well, he's really turned up. And I think overall, I think he's been a good signing for us. I think the one thing that would potentially have some United fans thinking that maybe it would be better to look at moving him on would be his injury record. Is that it feels like every season there's always a kind of 1 or 2 month period where we're without him. And it's a shame, because you feel like someone of his quality, if he was able to keep fit for an entire season, I think he'd be a huge asset to us. But it just feels like every season there's been that period where we've been without him, and then we've welcomed him back from injury, and he's come back and done well. But I hope he just doesn't turn out like Eric Bailly, really, where again had a lot of good games for us when he did play, and that people noticed there was an uplift in terms of our defensive capabilities and just the level of our defense when he was in there. But he just never really got that consistent game time because he unfortunately picked up injuries. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be kind of in that camp right now. I still think he's got something to offer, and hopefully, if his injury record improves, there's 100% a player you want in your team. He's a fighter as well. Someone who's come through a lot of criticism. A lot of people who felt that when he first joined, he wouldn't be able to deal with the physicality of the league. And he's come through a lot of that. So it shows his mentality. It shows he's got that fight in him. But yeah, I mean, maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll see this story continue. But personally, I feel like probably there's not a huge amount in it at the moment. But yeah, good player. Hopefully he can improve that injury record.
Yeah, I'm probably on the same page as you, Kieran. I think he's a player that, if we're looking to move forwards into a more progressive system, someone like Martinez is just an excellent player to have in that system. I think he does lack pace, but he's got the intelligence, and he's able to thread those balls through a midfield, through a low block. Like, he's a real asset to have around the attacking third. when in possession. So for me, if we can keep him fit, I think he could be instrumental. I don't think he excels in his own box, which is not great if you're a central defender. But I think back to some of his rash challenges he's made, or where he gets his positioning slightly wrong in and around the box. That's a bit of a concern, as well as his height. He's pretty good aerially, but against people like Erling Haaland, etc., you're gonna struggle. Like you can't beat physics. But I think overall, if he can keep injury free, we should keep him. But I do think it's last chance saloon for him personally. I think if it has another season where his injury hit, I think we're definitely going to have to cut our losses on Martinez. G Wolf, I mean, if he was going, if it does turn out there's some substance to this, what would be your thoughts, and what sort of fee do you think we'd be able to get for him?
I think we'd be able to get a good fee. I think if he, if they do go on, if they go out, I think we'd get a good 40 to 50 million for him, at least. But my question is, we already need to get a centre back anyway, with De Ligt being injured most of the time. Obviously, he keeps on having back injuries, De Ligt, and then Martinez keeps on getting injured. Who are we gonna rely on the youngsters in Heaven and Euro? And then who we got? We need to replace these players. So I don't see us going to get two centre backs after paying so much last season for De Ligt. Yeah, we got Mazraoui, and that he can play in defence, but he's not really a defender, though. I wouldn't have thought. So, me personally, yeah, we got on Maguire, but he hasn't. He got injured near the end. So, to tell you the truth, are we going to be short at the centre? Or do you want to go short in this season? Do you want to cut yourself short, or do you want to get the players in midfield first and then go back to the defence?
This is where
This is the thing.
I think we're not going to want to do, or any of us are not going to want to do, or have the financial means to do a midfield rebuild and a defensive rebuild in one window. So this is where I think the club really, they are relying on Martinez staying. He's only got 2 years left on his contract, I believe. So for me, I wouldn't be surprised if some of this is agent driven and Martinez is maybe angling for a new contract extension, because he's got us over a barrel, because he knows that De Ligt's injured. We've got two young central defenders in the back four. And then you've got Maguire, who's not getting any younger either. So
exactly.
Martinez is in quite a strong position, I think, in terms of this one. So yeah, I think maybe there's something in it, but I think it's agent driven. That'll be my assumption on this.
See, I think for this window, we just need to concentrate on the midfield. Maybe get a left back. If we can get a centre back, it's got to be a pretty cheap one, just to replace De Ligt. But to go out and replace De Ligt plus Martinez, I think it's going to be a bit too much. So I think we need to stay the course. Don't sell Martinez. Yes, we know about his injuries, but we'll be able to replace them either in January or in the summer next season, and go back to that and say, look, this hasn't worked out.
Random Idiot says Leacher has become a liability. The Reds will start piling up if he stays fit. Good thing is for him in the World Cup, there's no chance of a red card because he's got a blue and white shirt. Hope FIFA aren't listening. But I'm just going to see if there's any final comments in the chat. If you do have a final question you want us to get up on screen and discuss, drop it in the chat.
We won't
now
slip down the league, Cake. We didn't last season, and he was out for most of it, so we did well, considering that we didn't have Delit and we had Martinez near the end. Don't forget he was out for 18 months with that really bad injury, but he got a few games near the end and he played well. So no, we won't slip down. Didn't last season, won't this season.
Just want to say a quick hello to Sebastian as well. Good to see you, Sebastian. So just to recap the stream for anyone that has joined late, I'll just go through this really quickly. We did a bit of fan sentiment analysis on a Aston Villa forum. They were largely very positive about YOURI Tielemans. Obviously, it looks like we've signed him today. I think he's got a medical booked for this week. But a fee has been agreed of around £35 million. Aston Villa fans pretty shocked, to be honest. There's not really been any sign of this coming, but they're very positive about Tielemans and upset really that he's going to be leaving. Then we went through some of his strengths and weaknesses. Then we did a bit of a comparison between Tielemans and Bruno Guimaraes. We also then looked at how does Tielemans complement Andre Santos in our midfield duo. And then we've just come on to this final story in the last few minutes, which is Lisandro Martinez has supposedly been offered to Atletico Madrid. And this is an Atletico Madrid news aggregator account. And not sure whether there's too much in this or not. I think based on evidence so far, this transfer window, sources have been pretty much in the dark when it comes to United news. There may be something in this, potentially, but I do believe it would be agent driven, potentially if Martinez is angling for a new contract. But yeah, any final comments? I'm just going to look through quickly if there are any questions that have just come in, and I'll get those on screen.
Yo, what up, boys? United, how you doing? He said, "Damn, I forgot this was on."
Oh, big up, Rob. Good to see you in the lunchtime stream as well. So to anyone just watching here for the first time, Rich does usually host a lunchtime stream, usually around 1 o'clock, and he's looking to get back onto the morning streams as well. So they're usually about 9. There's usually an evening show as well. Monday nights, it tends to be G Wolf and myself. Kieran's come on tonight and is welcome anytime, of course. But usually on most other nights, Rich is on the show and with guests as well. So yeah, make sure you do tune in if you like what you've seen tonight. I think we've probably covered everything, guys. But any final comments you want to make, Kieran, about anything United related, World Cup related, or whatever's on your mind?
Well, I mean, firstly, from the eye point of view and the kind of the stream point of view, obviously, it's kind of the first thing I think you spoke about, kind of the London buses. Kind of this time last week, I'd say maybe kind of I would say I was slightly concerned with our transfer activity, especially with the news that Ederson's deal was kind of falling through. That was concerning me because it looked like he was a target we looked at long term, and the fact that the deal was falling through felt a big kind of hole in our plans. So I was interested to see how we would kind of recover from that. But it looks like we've done quite, obviously with these two players, we've done some good business fairly quickly in the meantime, which I think is it's encouraging. But I think obviously not to be too greedy, but I do think that there needs to be more reinforcements coming in, and I'm sure they're looking at more reinforcements in the midfield and other places around around the pitch. But I think United's first preseason game is on Saturday, so the season is going to come quicker than we think. I think it's going to really come quick on us. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. But obviously, right now the transfer window, especially after the World Cup, I think it's going to ramp up. But yeah, in terms of what we talked about today, I think positive stuff, and it's good that we're going in that direction, and hopefully more to come in the coming weeks.
Mozanoon's got a question which I think we can answer. Breaking news: Mason Mount has not been flogged. We haven't managed to get rid of him, and I don't think there's really any stories out there linking Mason Mount away from the club at the minute. So we'll keep you posted. Keep an eye on the stream.
Fulham might come in
future
for him.
streams. Well, there was one story a few weeks ago that Frank Lampard at Coventry maybe we'll take a look at him, but I'm not sure there's enough substance to that story. I think that's maybe 2 and 2 together is 5. JR says, do you think we can get an extra midfielder because we've got Tielemans so cheap, or a right back or left back?
Either one or would do well for us, I think.
It does give us the flexibility, doesn't it? Because we've bought, instead of buying Fernandes for 85, bought Andre Santos and Tielemans for about 85. So theoretically, we've been able to sign 2 players instead of 1. So maybe there is scope there for a left back, which I would argue we definitely need a left back.
Definitely need,
or at least someone that can play on either side.
Yeah, I don't want to see. Literally, I really don't want to see Dallo anymore. I've had enough of him. Get one of the youngsters. Put one of the youngsters in.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see Kokonki, I think, in pre-season. I think he actually got some first team minutes last season, didn't he? In 1 or 2 games, and he was on the bench a few times as well. But also Harry Amas. Obviously, he had that loan deal at Sheffield Wednesday where he was their, I think, player of the season. And then he unfortunately had a very short loan spell at Norwich. He only managed a few minutes on the pitch before he picked up quite a serious injury. But there we go. As Rich says, though, he'll post on the channel's community page regarding call-ins and any other streams as well. But G Wolf, any final comments that you want to make tonight?
Don't forget tomorrow, 8:30. I think it's what's the time tomorrow? I think it's 9:30 tomorrow, isn't it, for the semi-finals of the World Cup between France and who's the other one? France and Spain.
It's France and Spain. Isn't it a
semi-final?
It's an 8 p.m. tomorrow.
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
Right, okay, 7:30 is going to start then. And on Wednesday, don't forget of the England versus Argentina.
Are you feeling confident?
I am.
Are you feeling confident?
I'm always feeling confident.
Should we get... Okay, let's get a quick score prediction. We'll all do one. And then
the England versus Argentina.
Yeah.
3-2 England.
3-2. Nice. Who's going to get the winning goal?
Harry Kane.
Harry Kane. If I lose a tenner on that, G Wolf, I'm going to hold you responsible. Kieran, any
I think that's not a bad prediction from G Wolf. I think there will be goals in it. Probably now it'll be 0-0. I said that, but I think it's difficult to call because I think both teams haven't been amazing. But I'm going to be positive. I'm going to say 2-1 England, and I think it's going to be, obviously all the talk's been about Kane and Bellingham, but I think there'll be a different player scoring. I think it'll be one of the what I call the finishers, Tuchel's finishers, come off the bench. I'm actually going to say Rashford. I'm going to say Rashford potentially off the bench, finishing the game. Gets a goal, 2-1.
He's done it once already in this tournament. Yeah. We've got a few predictions in the chat there. I think both teams are going to score. I think it could be a score draw, and it goes through to extra time. So I'm going to go with 2-2. I think, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a goal apiece in extra time as well, and then it goes to penalties.
By the way,
So
if you
I'm
do
going to
win,
go for 3-3 after
if you
extra
do,
time.
if you put that £10 bet on and you do win, you got to give me half the money, dude. You know.
I didn't hear that, G Wolf. You're breaking up a bit. Sorry.
Clear out your lug holes, then.
I heard that.
Oh, did you? Oh. Selective hearing syndrome have you got?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. No, I'll cut you in, G Wolf. Don't worry. Rich has gone for 2-1. England, Kane, and Bellingham. But I just want to say thanks, guys. Kieran, it's been a while since we've spoken, but always a pleasure. And you're welcome on any time. But thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. Always a pleasure.
G Wolf, likewise. My regular Monday Madness guest.
Oh yeah, baby.
Thanks for giving up your time as always. And looking forward to your World Cup streams
Talking
tomorrow
like
and the day after
man
as well.
there. I am married. So I gotta have the selective hearing syndrome.
Especially as Mrs. G Wolf may be in the chat as well.
Yeah, she's probably lurking somewhere.
But as always, final shout out to everyone in the chat, because that's what makes the show. That's why we're here. And great to get all of your views and all of your opinions. Berber, Vril, Pundit KD, Mickey, we've got Cakes, Sebastian, Rich, Neil Driscoll, Rob Always United, Jay Red, Gregory as well. Just seen you there, Gregory. Nice to see you. Berber, there's loads of names. Mr. B as well. So thank you all so much for contributing to the show. It's what makes it. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you again next time.
She gave me a fright the other night, though.